crazy. I mean, you're 69, right?
Right.
69 years old. I mean, you don't look it. You know, you physically
we need to tell some girls that.
Well, I'll let that be on your dime. But
I was either working or playing sports growing up. You know?
So this is from an early age of like, elementary school all the way up.
Lord, we hit the fields when I was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm looking strictly at getting the most payoffs with the littlest money I can put up. You can do anything over 60, 70, 80, but you need to be healthy. A lot of times it's timing and the opportunities that you either take or you miss. If you don't put yourself out there and give yourself a chance to see those opportunities,
right,
you're guaranteed failure.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Blueprint. Today I'm here with Phil Dodson. He's here to talk to us about anti-aging. He's an entrepreneur that has gotten into a business that is going to show us how we can, live forever. Who knows? Maybe he'll tell us. Phil, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, 100%. So we're going to talk about anti-aging and the things that go into that as we get a little further into the show and some of the things and tips and tricks that you're going to reveal to us of things of what the body does and needs and everything else. I'd really like to find out probably how you got to that point, right? Where did you come from? Where was Phil born, hatched?
Well, I was actually born probably about 6 to 8 miles from here.
Okay.
I grew up in Nevada, Texas, spelled just like Nevada. You probably know where it's at.
Exactly where it's at.
Okay. So I knew about Rockwall when it was nothing over here. Really the whole Metroplex when it was nothing over here. So I've been here just about all of my 70 years in this Dallas Metroplex. So I've seen it grow from nothing to where it is today.
Yeah.
And, I grew up, my dad was a sharecropper, a farmer.
Okay.
He ran the cotton gin.
Okay.
I had a brother and a sister. And my mom, she was mainly a homemaker.
Homemaker.
So my whole life, from as long as I can remember, my dad being a sharecropper, it was tractors, hoeing cotton.
Okay.
Maize.
You had your
wheat.
hands in the dirt.
I was. And really the only way I was able to get out of that essentially was playing sports.
Okay.
I was either working or playing sports growing up.
So this is from an early age of elementary school all the way up.
Lord, we hit the fields when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
That's just the way it was. We'd go hoe cotton till 3 in the afternoon when I was a kid. It was either going to school or working in the fields, And that's just the way it was back in those days. We didn't think anything about it. It was great. But my avenue for basically getting out of that lifestyle was sports.
What sport in general? What are we talking about?
I played them all, but I guess my best sport growing up was probably baseball, even though I didn't even enjoy it as much as basketball and football. But I was better. I was a pitcher, so I was better at baseball. And that's where I eventually went to school and had a scholarship and everything, becoming a pitcher. But bottom line is, there at Community, we were just a little Class A school. We were small. I graduated with 23 people.
I was going to say, it's a small town. Still a small town.
Still a very small town, but it's growing like crazy right now. So, in my school, there was probably 150 people, and we had the elementary there in Levon.
Yeah.
And which was where we went 1 through 4. Then 5 through 8. We went to Josephine. Okay. And then we graduated there in Nevada. And that was where the senior high school was at. So it was just a small town atmosphere. Everybody knew everybody, obviously. And like I said, the main thing that I had going for me was I was pretty good at a lot of sports. And we were small. And I was in a graduating class that had 20 boys out of 23.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's all we had to do. We were really good in baseball, basketball, football, track. We were really good in those days back in the 70s. I graduated in 74. So that was my life, really, sports and that's basically transitioned me through my whole life is my love of sports and competing.
Yeah. Sports and farming.
Yep. Well, I didn't love farming.
Yeah.
You know, my dad, he ran the last cotton gin ever. I didn't love it, but I recognized what it meant to our family. You know, it was everything.
Did you think that you would ever transition into being a farmer?
Never did. I have friends that became farmers, that their dads were, but I knew early on that I really didn't want to do it because you really don't have a lot of control. Yeah. It's the weather. Essentially, you know, you can go from having the greatest crops in the world and a hailstorm come through and destroy everything. Right. So I didn't like that aspect of it, even though I became a huge gambler in my life. That really affected our family, I think, growing up, because things would happen environmentally that would destroy your year. And I could see the stress and everything on my family, and my dad especially. Yeah.
You thought you need to get out of that as soon as possible. Yeah. It's a hard life.
It's a tough life, and I admire so much about farmers.
Yeah, 100%.
And I've got friends that are still farming in this area here today. So they're vital to everything.
So you could throw a fastball?
I could throw from the time I was 10 years old. I always said if I would have been athletically gifted with the technology that they have in today's world, I could be throwing 95 to 100 miles an hour. But in my day, it was taboo to lift any weights or do any kind of strenuous exercise that would destroy or strengthen you, because you'll tighten up your arm, you'll mess up your shooting, you'll mess up throwing the footballs. It was just totally taboo, and it's completely changed in the last 50 years.
Yeah, them boys used to have beers and cigarettes after the game.
That's right. It was totally
or during
different.
The game even.
Yeah, it was totally different.
Yeah. Keep you loose.
Yeah, exactly.
So you went to school.
Right.
Where'd you go to school at?
Community high school. And that encompassed 4 little towns over there. Okay. And that's why they called it Community ISD. Yeah. Back when I was going to school, we were Class A. Right. And I think it went up to maybe 4A at that time. Really? Back in the 70s. And of course, now you got 5A, 6A. And I think where I went to school now is actually 4A. Yeah. Yeah, I think it is.
And then you went to college where?
I went to college at a college in South Texas called B County College. It was a junior college, and that's where I pitched at. Okay. And we were in a great conference with a lot of these junior colleges, had a bunch of pro ball players come out of there. And so I went there for 1 year, but my love for basketball destroyed my pitching career there I twisted my ankle before the playoffs, and I had a real good freshman year. Yeah. But after I twisted my ankle, they didn't invite me back for the second year. So I ended up going to school in the last 4 years at East Texas State in Commerce. Yep. And I played, intramural basketball and baseball there, but I tried out for the basketball team, but I didn't make it. Yeah. But I did so much playing baseball those 4 years that I was there in, I call them semi-pro leagues, and ended up pitching all the way to my mid-30s and never made pro ball, but I played against a ton of pro ball players, ton of them.
Well, that's cool. So as you're going to school, this whole time you think the love for the game is where I'm at. I'm going to be
I actually went to be a coach. That's what I was going to do. Okay. And I actually did my student teaching in Greenville, Texas. Okay.
My hometown.
And, Greenville. So Greenville's changed a lot too, man.
That's right.
I remember when I was a kid going to Greenville, I'm thinking, boy, this is a metropolis. Yeah. Compared to where I was. We'd go there on Saturdays and Sundays to go in there and shop. And I think, I've never seen anything this big.
But I always tell everybody it was the Dallas of East Texas.
Oh, exactly.
It was back in the day.
Yeah. They'd take me into the old Woolworths there, and I'd get a few things. I thought, boy, I've hit gold there. It was crazy. But Greenville, I did my student teaching there. And then just out of nowhere, out of college, I come up here and interviewed for some jobs because my student teaching experience, I felt like I was always breaking up fights. And I'm going, man, I don't know if I want to do this or not. So I just come up here to Dallas and started interviewing for some other jobs and actually got very lucky and got on as a production supervisor at Rockwell International over in Richardson. Well, at that time, they built telecommunications systems.
Okay.
Rockwell did. And so I got on there just a cold call interview.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, boy, what am I going to do with all this money? I was making $12,500 a year the first year, and I'm going, what am I going to do with all this money? This was back in 78. And it was over in Richardson.
Yeah.
And it had been, I forgot the name of the company that they turned from. Collins Radio. It was Collins Radio, and then bought out by Rockwell International. And they built telecommunications systems for AT&T and that time. So I was a production supervisor at 24 years old over assembly lines. And I worked there for 12 and a half years.
Okay. And
then they started shipping all the manufacturing off to Mexico and Nogales and that type of thing to save money on, on labor. And so that pretty much put me out of a job. And that's when I basically went out on my own and started doing my own entrepreneurial type things.
Like, what was the first thing you're like, all right, I'm done working for somebody else because it's going to change on me, whatever. I need to do what? And like, where do you even start? You just said, I want to be an entrepreneur. Or you had an idea that you thought you wanted to expand on?
No, I did. I knew at that point, I didn't want anybody controlling my
what
destiny.
You're doing. Yeah.
Because, I was making great money for someone my age at that time, and I'd actually saved some good money in that 12 years. And so I'm thinking, what do I want to do? I don't want to be working for anybody else. And that's been my mindset up until today.
Yeah.
The last basically 40 years of my life. And I've tried a lot of different businesses, some successful, some not so successful. But I've learned throughout the entire time that it's not always doing things right or wrong. A lot of it's luck.
Right.
Timing and luck and who you know. And the things that I've worked the hardest at from time to time has failed. Not anything that I did wrong. It was just the wrong timing, essentially. I hear all the time people say, if you work hard, you can, you keep working, you're going to hit gold, Well, I'm not really a believer in that.
Okay.
I think honestly, the hard work helps a hell of a lot. But a lot of times it's timing and the opportunities that you either take or you miss.
That's what I was saying. Well, I mean, if you're working super hard to get something done and you're putting yourself in those moments where opportunities can happen,
right.
then you're putting yourself ahead of the game.
That's exactly
nothing is a guarantee or everybody would take that same path.
That's right. If you don't put yourself out there and give yourself a chance to see those opportunities,
right,
you're guaranteed failure, right? So what I did is after I got out of Rockwell, I started a company because a lot of companies were at that time shutting down. This was the late 80s, going into 90s when we had the savings and loan crisis. And so a lot of companies were shutting down. So what I did is I started a company, just named it Dodson Enterprises, and I started going in and buying up all the excess when these companies were shutting down, whether it be desks, whether it be electronics, whether it be computers, whether it be whatever.
Yeah.
And I got me a warehouse, and I did very well, probably till started, I think it was 88. And I did very well until I shut it down completely in 98, shut the warehouse down and everything. And what we did is we just went in there and liquidated, basically liquidators.
Yeah.
And I didn't auction anything. I sold it to other resellers.
Okay.
So I would go in and buy it bulk as cheap as I could get the stuff and move it as quickly as possible to a warehouse. And then I had me and other people reselling it.
So you had connections that you already knew who to call to say, hey, man, I got another shipment in. Come check it out. See what you got. Oh, this is kind of right up your alley or whatever.
Yep. Of course, this was before eBay and all that stuff. Yeah. So, it was about connections.
Yeah. Did you have a certain percentage point that you needed to make on top of whatever you made? Or whatever you bought it for?
I would always call it, man, I knew if I hit a home run when I went in and made a buy. I knew, and I knew if I was going to have a difficult time getting my money back sometimes, but just just say, well, this is slow right now. I'll go ahead and do this deal. And even though I'm probably not going to make, but I would always know when I went in and viewed, say a building or a company and they were wanting you to bid it out and so forth. Yeah. I would always know pretty much if I was hit a home run or not. And over a period of time, I'd say over a 10-year period of time, that led me to the point in my life. I was single, never been married, but I raised a lot of kids. And so it's another long story. But bottom line is I've got tremendous family support from a lot of different people, even though I've never been married. But bottom line is I was able to put that kind of money away over 10 years and really found my passion, which was, of all things, horse race gambling. Back in 98 when they opened up Lone Star Park here I had dabbled around with my best friend. For years, we would go to the horse races in Louisiana. Of course, it was illegal here in Texas. You know, I didn't have...
What was that, Louisiana Downs?
Yeah, Louisiana Downs, exactly. And we would go on the weekends. He was my boss named Gerald Scoggins, and a great guy, and kind of cut my teeth with him on the they call it handicapping. I don't know if you know much about horse racing.
Explain it to us.
Well, people look at horse racing like you go out there and colors, names, so forth, but it's a huge science behind it. I mean, it really is. If you, every day that they have a horse race there at the track, the data is all put in racing forms, and it has been for years. And it's one of the most comprehensive, I would call it, documents put out every day, because you can look at every horse that's entered in those races and it gives you the history called past performances of what the horses have done. So what you're doing in a typical race is, let's say I'm going to play Louisiana that day and there's 10 races. That racing form comes out. They draw the races 3 days prior, 4 days prior. So you know who's going to be running, and they print the papers. Well, you're able to... Handicapping is basically just comparing the horses in the race, and you're betting on them in various different ways, whether it be trifecta, first, second, and third, whether it be win, place, and show on just the horse you want to win. But bottom line is you're comparing the horses. Take a human, for instance. Me at darn near 70 years old is not going to go out there and beat a 40-year-old running, right? Well, you're able to see the differences in classes in the race, and you can differentiate.
If you know the data.
But it's a lot of work, man. Very stressful and a lot of work. People that just go once or twice a year to the horse races, they just think, well, they just go out there and pick colors. Girls always want to pick their favorite names.
That's a pretty name.
Colors. And let me tell you something. Over the years, I've taken 1 million of them out there, and they always win and I lose. But that's just the way it is. You know? But there's no guarantees. It's very, very stressful work. So I started that in 98 when they opened up Lone Star Park there in Grand Prairie. And I basically, for 10 years, was a professional horse player. Now, I kept some other side businesses going, but for the most part, I was there 5 days a week, usually from 4 till they shut it down at night. I like the night tracks, the smaller tracks. And that's where I made most of my money during that 10-year period. Luckily, I had put away enough from my business with Dodson Equipment Recovery, you know, during that time to really withstand some losses. Because you've got to. When you are gambling on horses, I tell people all the time, I did that for basically 10 years, 5 days a week, and I lost 80% of the time. 8 out of 10 times, I walked out of there a loser. But that 20% of the time average, I made up a lot more than what I lost in those 80% of the time.
Does that decide what type of bet you want to put down then? Because if you only have a 20% winning clip, you can't bet 50 for 50, right? You know, you got to start betting long shots.
You've got not necessarily long shots, but I call they're called exotics. Okay. Exacta, first and second. Trifecta, first, second, and third. Superfecta, which we actually got implemented there at Lone Star Park in 2000. first, second, third, and fourth. So the better handicapper, the better picker you are, the better chance you have of being right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're right on first, second, third, and fourth, just give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes in 1, 2, 3, 4, and I play it like that,
yeah,
you can play 1, 2, 3, 4 in a race for $2.
Yeah.
Well, I've had $10 bets in the history of my career out there that paid $25,000.
There you go.
Okay. So I would always say that my 2 rules of thumb in horse racing were I rarely, if ever, bet the favorites because the favorites are going to win 25 to 30% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the payoff is not going to be enough where you can make a living at it.
Well, if you're going to do that, I mean, how many horses in a race? 8?
I always preferred at least 10, but sometimes there's as few as 5 to 6.
Okay.
Sometimes there's 12 to 20.
Okay.
You know, it just depends. I preferred myself the bigger fields.
Right.
And I preferred what I call the cheaper horses.
Okay.
Because there's more inconsistency.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm looking for is payoffs. I'm looking at strictly at getting the most payoffs with the littlest money I can put up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just to give you an example, probably in that 10-year period, I never went there and lost more than $800. Usually $500 was my limit.
Mm-hmm.
If I lost $500 the first 2 hours,
mm-hmm.
it's not my night. I'm gone. Adios, baby.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So money management is just as important, if not more, as being a skilled handicapper.
So if you're saying that you won on first, second, third, and fourth, you $10 bet could get you $25,000, right?
If the long shots come in, and you're right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let's just say, why wouldn't I put up 10 bets for $10 on 10 different combinations?
Well, number one, the trifecta and the superfecta, the combinations, it's going to be so little a chance of you hitting those things.
Right.
Putting 10 bets on superfectas in a race, even if you're doing $10, the chance of you being right is very, very, very rare.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk about those big payoffs, okay, where I had a little bit of money, me being a top-notch handicapper, I might have 3 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're playing 10 a day, which I never did. I would play typically superfectas maybe 4 to 8 times a day, and sometimes I would play $6. $6.
Yeah.
But I would try to hit the winner. I'd try to hit the second place horse, and I'd have 3 horses in third and fourth, which is a $6 bet. But it's got to come in, bang, bang, and then 2 of those 3 come in third and fourth. Well, you're not going to be right very often. Even if you're a combination of a bunch of horses, you can, those $100 that you're making bets on can add up in a hurry. So it's risk versus reward. But I would always say, and there's probably not 1 in 50,000 horse race handicappers, serious handicappers, and I'm not tooting my own horn, I'm just telling you the facts, that really make money over time.
Okay.
It's so difficult and it's so stressful. So that's really what put me out of business. Basically, when I stopped, it wasn't because I was losing. It was just the stress and what it was doing to my body.
Yeah.
In 2008, it was just so stressful.
Living and dying by it.
Oh, yeah. And this much for fourth could cost you $50,000. And that's what I call it, photo hell. That's what put me out of That's what put me out of business. Basically, I just couldn't take it. I hadn't lost very much money. I'd lost 12 straight times back in 2008, and I hadn't lost very much money. But I had like 4 of those races were either first, second, third, or fourth in a less than an inch photo cost me from winning big money, over $10,000. And I'm going, I just can't deal with this. It's just too rough. And I'd gained a lot of weight. Man, I was probably almost 300 pounds.
Okay.
And you're sitting all day. You're looking at a screen. You're looking at papers.
Drinking, eating.
I didn't drink. I never drank.
Never
Still
drank.
don't drink.
Still never drank.
But bottom line is, I ate and I sit on my butt doing nothing all day.
Wait, I want to hit that one time. You've never drank alcohol?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I did. I still drank a little bit casually, but I can't drink beer. I'm allergic to beer.
Okay.
So, parties, I'll socially drink or something, but I'm not a drinker at all. But at that time when I was out there, no, I wouldn't have any alcohol. That was my work.
Cloud your decisions.
That was my work.
Yeah.
And it was it was stressful. Even when I brought people out there with me, and I did on a lot of occasions. I had a lot of the old cowboy coaches back in the day, back in that time that would go out there with me, because a lot of the old cowboy coaches, I don't know if you remember Ernie Zampese and people like that, they loved their horse racing. A lot of the old coaches loved their horse racing. So I would take them out there a lot of times with me, and they would just basically bet what I'm betting on the smaller tracks, and then they had their tracks that they liked that they would go in there and bet on. But anyway, that was kind of my claim to fame with all the cowboy coaches back in the day, because a lot of them loved those horse racing. They loved them.
So did you ever handicap 4 people besides that for cash, or did you have
I did actually
the field hotline up there?
I did actually start back. I don't know if you remember the old 900 numbers.
That's what I'm saying. The field hotline.
I did actually put that out for 2 years.
Okay.
And I did very well with it. But what I found out was, well, I'm working myself to death to make other people money. I'm putting in the same effort, and it was hurting my efforts, because when you're putting out long shot winners out there, right, and you're putting them out for other people to see, that affects the odds. In other words, you want to keep your information to you, so that you can benefit from it. And what I was finding out is, when I would have a 20 or 30 to 1 horse and I posted it, well, that horse is now 5 or 10 to 1 because everybody's betting on it. Right. Looking at my stinking picks. Yeah. So I shut it down. It did very well, but it worked me to death. And I'm thinking, well, I'm helping other people, but I was helping other people. I was really hurting myself with my own gambling aspect of the horses. And people don't really understand horse racing from that aspect of it. You're betting against the people. The track is the bookie. Yeah. I hear so many people over the years say, oh, they rigged that, the tracks did that. Well, I'm not disputing that there could be some jockey stuff and some owner stuff, but the track don't care. The track only cares if there's $100,000 bet by everybody. I just made $20,000. Yeah. They call it handle. They call it handle. If they got $1 bet, they made 20 cents. So that's all they care about. Getting people out there to bet. So the handle is the same thing as like juice in Vegas. That's right. Well, no, the handle is what's bet entirely. Right. Okay. It's what's bet on every race. So in other words, you'll look at the end of the night at Lone Star, it might show $1.2 million bet. Right. Every race. Well, they just made 20% of that. 100%. Yeah. And that's what they have to pay they have to pay, they have to pay a lot of people, and they also have to pay the winners with that, the winners of the horse races. So it's a tough business for owners and trainers and so forth. I had a lot of people over the years try to get me into that, but it's a tough business, man. It's a grind. So you got out of that. You were like, I'm done with this. My life needs to change. At what age were you at this point when you said, I'm done here? Let me think about this. It's hard to say. That was in 2008. So that's 17 years ago. That's a big jump. You went from throwing fastballs to handicapping horses. Yeah. I guess that was about 53 or 54 when I stopped doing it seriously. Okay. I didn't just cold turkey it, but I stopped doing it seriously. Yeah. And I actually started another company with I call him my adopted son-in-law, because I raised my best friend's family, kind of. His daughter, after he died in 90, the guy I was telling you about that went cut my teeth at the track on. He died at 1990. So I kind of took over his family, for his one daughter specifically, and they're kind of my family. So anyway, we started in 2007 here in Rockwall, out here on the other side of Chisholm, a company called Saddlebrook Homes of Texas. Okay. And we started. Abe is an unbelievable builder. Okay. And luckily I'd put quite a bit of money away and so forth. And we built a big model home out there in High Point Lake Estates out there, and I bought 10 or 12 lots. And they were 2-acre lots, and it was just being developed out there then. And then, of course, 2 years later, in September of 2008, when the crash came and land depreciated like 80% in 2 weeks, which had never happened in my life. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, but my dad and other friends of mine would always say, buy land. They ain't making no more land. Buy land. Well, we had never, ever seen land depreciate. Yeah. Never. And in a 2-week period, it depreciated 80%. Those lots that I spent $75,000 on out there became worth $7,000. That's what you could get for them.
Yeah.
That's what happened in 2008. So I always tell people, it's so funny to me that, oh man, you gamble on horses. That's gambling. That's you're a degenerate gambler if you bet on horses or sports bet or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of right opposite from that. In all honesty, I tell people, yeah, it's gambling, but business is gambling. And unfortunately, it's about timing.
Yeah.
I started that company with Saddlebrook Homes of Texas in 2007 with Abe, my son-in-law, and the next year, something that had never happened in history happened. So we built, luckily, we had 8 or 10 homes out there, and we got rid of all the homes and made a little bit of money, but lost a lot of money on the land, lost a lot of money. I took a bath. So that's when, after that, I think we shut that down in 2015. Yeah, 2015. And I became a superintendent for a big building company and so forth. And that's when I actually started my other company, Aging Evolution, that I'm still involved with today.
Okay. That
was in 2015.
Now, physically, you talked about earlier you were at 300 pounds. Yeah. Where were you at this point?
Right now?
No. When you started this aging company.
Oh, well, it's weird how I started this.
Okay.
Because I still had money and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what were my next steps, I played a lot and I went on trips and actually during that 7 or 8 year time frame that I was doing all the stuff with the horse race handicap, I basically lived in Vegas 3 months out of the year at Caesar's Palace handicapping horses. So I'd travel a lot and I had friends all over the country. Well, so when I decided to start Aging Evolution, it's really weird story how I started this. I was going to the gym trying to get in shape. I'm thinking, dang, I got to get some of this weight off. I'm fixing to be mid-50s, right? And I'm weighing 275 pounds and I'm not in shape at all. So I go in there and I start seeing all these older people that are really working hard.
Yeah.
They're working hard to get in shape.
When you say older, what are you thinking about?
I'm talking over 40, 50, 60, 70. I'm seeing all these older people that look great. And I'm going, dang. And I don't know what brought this up, but I remember thinking, this is kind of like the evolution of aging. I remember people when I was growing up in their 50s, they were ancient.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They looked every bit of it.
Yeah.
Hard lives, nutrition, everything wasn't like it is today. And so I remember thinking, it's kind of like the evolution of aging. So it's weird. I go up here in Rockwall, actually, where you can get your company name. And I'm just going to go up here and see if anybody's got that. I had no plan. I had nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. I go up there and I said, looked in there, you know how you can look on there and see if there's other company. No Aging Evolution. So I immediately got the name and I started trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it. But I went through about a year just really, really focusing on health and fitness and talking to
people.
Personally, and talking to people.
All right.
I wasn't trying to make any money with it.
Yeah. You're just trying to get yourself in shape.
I was just trying to see what I could do physically. And I had a real bad shoulder from a surgery back in 2008 that was really rough on my shoulder, and I'm still dealing with it today. But bottom line is the only surgery I ever had, but it was really a blessing in disguise because it made it where I had to get in shape. Because if I didn't with this shoulder that was eventually got frozen on me, I was going to, be in horrible condition by the time I get to where I am today, age-wise. So I started talking to other people that I thought fit the mode, people that look much, much younger than they are and that are in shape. And I'm not just talking physically, okay? I'm talking about the way they live their lives mentally.
Right.
You've seen people in their 50s and 60s, they just want to sit on the couch and do nothing. And, it's over with.
Yeah.
Some of it's got to do with luck, if you get sick or if you get cancer or whatever, you know. Some of it's got to do with luck. But bottom line is, all we can do ourselves is try to take care of ourselves, right? Eat properly, move, try to stay active, and keep it here. Keep mentally active, I think so many people now today, as they get in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, check out.
Yeah.
Just check out and say, it's over with. I'm done.
I had a run at it.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's an epidemic almost. But that's what my company is stressing more than anything is we move forward over these next, I'm hoping 5 to 10 years, is to really stress to the world, the community, America, that aging evolution is real. You can do anything. You can do anything over 60, 70, 80, but you need to be healthy.
Right.
Okay. You need to keep your faculties working properly. And some of it is luck.
Right.
But bottom line is, if you're not trying out there to be successful, be active, contribute to the community, you're going to go down faster.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So you went through this for a year. You said, hey, I didn't want to do anything with this. I just wanted to look at this for a year. I wanted to see if I could get in shape.
Right.
So what was the first step? You went and got a trainer. You went to the gym. You signed up. Like what? Tell me about that 1 year.
That 1 year, I was working out with several friends of mine at 24 there in Rockwall.
Yeah.
Okay. And
24-hour
fitness. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was seeing progress, but mainly, I tell this to everybody. I really had not changed my eating habits. I was still eating way too much and still eating wrong, too much fast food, too much this and that, I only started seeing the real changes during that first year. I worked out hard. I got stronger, but I was still not seeing the fat come off. I tell everybody all the time, you can weigh 300 pounds. That's fine if you weigh 300 pounds and you're 10% body fat.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all about body fat.
Yeah.
It's all about body fat and the way, if you're 300 pounds and you 60% body fat and it's all in your gut and legs and everything, you're unhealthy. I don't care what anybody says. But some of the bodybuilders today that are carrying 200 to 300 pounds, you can say, well, they're not healthy. They're carrying too much weight. I agree with that to a certain extent. Yeah. But it's all the mass that you have in your body. If you can stay below 20% body fat as you age, gives you a much, much better chance of being healthy as you grow older.
And tell me about that. So staying below 20% body fat gives you a better chance to stay healthy as you get older. Means like what? Like on my joints, on my heart? Like explain that just a touch.
All of the above. And I'm no doctor. I'm no expert on anything. I believe in blood work, getting your blood work checked thoroughly every 6 months to a year. But bottom line is the extra weight that you're carrying, just think about it. More vessels, more blood. Everything is working harder, right? It's working harder. And especially if it's excess body fat that is just, muscle will burn more food. If you're say 80%, 20% body fat, 80% the other, you're burning more with your metabolism. No question about it. So I always tell people, I focused at that time, not so much on weight as trying to see, where my body fat's at.
Yeah.
One key ingredient that you can always see in yourself is your waist size. If you start seeing your waist size come down, you're losing body fat for the most part.
Just check your belt.
Just check your belt.
What knocks you off.
Exactly. That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Check your belt. But anyway, going back to why I decided to actually start the website, the business, the products, and eventually the movie, I met so many incredible people that first year, going to different gyms around, I kind of had a visualization of what I wanted to do. But I didn't really know if I wanted to focus on really great looking people that were in shape or transformations, or potentially just getting people that were horribly out of shape. kind of where I was and then see where you can
make
go
the
with
transition.
it.
Yeah.
So we just kind of made a combination of all, but I met so many people really over 40 years old, 50, 60, 70, that I started to really the company with some initial members that were kind of partners with Aging Evolution,
right,
that all had different aspects that they could add to it. And we developed the website. I think that was in 2017. Slowly got some products. And then in 2018, I got this wild hair, which if I had it to do over again, I probably wouldn't do because it cost too much money to do it. But I wanted to make this movie, Aging Evolution.
Okay.
And one of the things that I had done over the years is I was a huge Dallas Mavericks fan. And I'd been fortunate enough. Yeah, and that's right. And so over the years, one of my buddies had known Mark Cuban back when he, basically way before he bought the Mavericks. And when he did buy the Mavericks, he became one of the season ticket holders sitting right there next to Mark in the bench. Okay. And he was really good friends with Mark. And I, at that time, had never met Mark. But then he moved to Florida, and me and another guy got those tickets. So over the years, me going to the ball game, sitting there with Mark, cussing the referees out like we do with Mark, you know how Mark is. And so I'd kind of befriended Mark. So I had this wild hair that I wanted to make this movie, Aging Evolution. And kind of with no script, I didn't have a script. I just kind of said, I want to highlight various people, and I want to see how many celebrities I can get that are older that are willing to be in this thing. And I started off with a budget, you know, and then paying certain people to be in it. Well, we finished the movie, and I finally got it out last year. But of course, COVID set us back for 2 years on the movie. But all in all, the movie's very, very good, and I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish with it. But I lost about 4 years of company growth focusing on the movie. Yeah.
What was your goal for the movie?
I really wanted to just build the brand.
Okay.
And get more people to actually know that Aging Evolution exists and show them, as the movie does, some unbelievable stories, people beating cancer, changing their lives. It's a very diversified movie. And it's really very good. I mean, we've got some big names in it. Mark was in it for me, obviously. And Brooke Burke of Dancing with the Stars, Lou Ferrigno, the old Hulk. A lot of people remember him. He was in it for us. I got a guy named, probably the most incredible guy in the world. He's kind of a cult movie star, Michael Hearn. A lot of people will know him in the fitness industry. He's in several movies right now. He's in Magazine Dreams, I think, that was just out here recently. And he's in it. 53 years old. Nobody in the world looked like him at the time of filming. He was back in the old days of the Gladiator, you know, what was that? The Gladiators.
American Gladiators?
American Gladiators.
Boom. He was one of the
original.
Yeah, that's great.
American Gladiators.
Yeah.
And he's now 56 and looks like he's 35 and the strongest person I've ever seen for, you know, his age. But bottom line is he was in it quite extensively. And so we've got just some unbelievable people in the movie. But during that time of making the movie and getting everything set up and so forth, we just had a lot of issues with COVID, with financing and so forth. And I went way, way over budget. And the key thing is when we finally did get it finished, we couldn't get it distributed. So I learned a valuable lesson right there. If you're going to use your own money to make a movie, being a rookie producer like I was, man, you got to have an avenue to put it on.
Yeah, you got to have a channel to get it out. You
got to have it sold, and that became such really a 2.5 year problem from the time we finished the film. And the film's out now; it's on Amazon and Apple TV, and it's still pay-per-view, but it'll be free here pretty soon, I think, in the next 6 months. But very inspiring movie. And I tell anybody that's interested in anti-aging and interested in see what people do to stay in great shape and look a lot younger than they really are, to watch this movie, because there's tons of different stories in the movie, all different. You know, you're not looking at just masters bodybuilders. You're looking at little old ladies that are 80 years old that can do pull-ups.
Okay.
You know,
there's people that can do feats physically.
Just that and
that they shouldn't be able to do at their age.
100%, and not look the way they do at their age, and not be healthy. It's not all about looks by any means, but I think most people, as they get older, you know, they go, I don't want to look like I'm 100 years old. Most people, that's why this anti-aging world is blossoming. So every commercial on TV, it seems like, is about wrinkle cream and hair coloring and this and that. Things to stay young, right? That's where we're at. Can
I ask you a question? Sure. I don't want this to sound jerkish, but I want to throw this out.
Okay.
The term anti-aging. It's such a it's such a term that means so much to so many people.
I know.
And it's like at that point when it means so much to so many different people, it's like almost people are taking it out of context.
I agree with that.
What does anti-aging mean to you?
To me personally, it's almost it's almost a negative connotation, because you're going anti something. Anti. It ought to be reverse aging in my mind, but the term anti-aging kicked in probably 15 or 20 years ago, and everybody just went with it.
Right.
I like the term, basically, in my view, of slowing the aging process down, or even reverse aging. People say, well, you can't get younger. Well, you can't get younger, but let me tell you, you can't get younger chronologically, but your body don't know how many days or how old it is. I mean, the body don't know, okay? A person that is 70 years old, that weighs 250 pounds, and has just been eating crap, sitting on the couch, doing nothing, waiting to die, okay? You're going to sit here and tell me you can't improve yourself dramatically by changing those habits, even at 70 years old? That's what I call reverse aging. You can go in there and say, okay, I'm look 100 years old right now. I can't walk without pain. I can't do a push-up. I'm eating unhealthy, fast food, this and that. And you change that, even at that age, your body chronologically is getting older, but your body's not really getting older. It's getting better from where you were till now. So I believe in the term reverse aging. I believe it's absolutely possible from the standpoint, because your body just don't know how many years or how old you are. It just knows what I feel and, you know, what kind of musculature I have, how my organs are reacting.
Yeah, but if you think about this, like, let's take it from a car's perspective. If I have a car and I want to make it better, and I can put new tires and rims on it. If I want to add brakes to it, the better brakes, I can do that. If I want to put a supercharger on my car to make it go faster, I can do that. Those are performance things to make my car better than it was when it started. Those are improvements. I can't take miles off the engine. I cannot do that. So is anti-aging, is that slowing the process of what nature's naturally doing to your body? Is that improving your health for a longer term? Like, what is that? Like, what does that really mean?
Obviously, I just saw on Generation Iron site the other day, which is actually distributed in my movie, they had the first 100-year-old professional bodybuilder step on stage at 100 years old. Stepped on stage, had some muscle.
Yeah.
Didn't look 100 years old. Okay. Now, you would say you could line up 100 people that were 100 years old, and that's pretty old, right?
Right.
Most of them are not going to look like this guy.
Sure.
So what I would tell you is this person had lived the lifestyle and he had maxed out.
Okay.
And that's what I call the evolution of aging.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. The evolution of aging is, I will guarantee you 50 years from now, unless something unbelievable happens on this earth,
yeah,
people are going to be living to 100 years old and looking like they're 80 years old today.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that.
Mm-hmm.
With technology, with nutrition, with the working out, with just doctors and everything involved, the whole scope of everything.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to be at 100 years old, and people are going to be living probably to 110 to 120
mm-hmm.
pretty consistently. And that's not that far off. That's really not. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about the engine in the car, I totally agree with that. Mm-hmm. You can't turn back. You can enhance it every kind of way you make it look better, right? Yeah. But you can't get the organs and so forth to say, hey, they're wearing out.
Right.
My heart's wearing out.
Right.
My kidneys are wearing out.
Right.
You know, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also certain ways to mitigate that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I believe the reverse, especially if you haven't been living the lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you've been living the lifestyle and you've been eating healthy and you've been working out 3 or 4 days a week and you're being over time, okay, you know, you're going to look better than most people do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if you are inactive and you want to change your life,
right,
and extend your life,
right,
okay, and that interests you, you can do it. In today's world, you can absolutely do it. Supplementation is huge. I'm a big believer right now in all this peptide industry that's coming out
mm-hmm.
to help people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say, well, it's legal steroids. Well, it may be to a certain extent, but I've seen all the evidence now that these peptides are going to be the big thing in the next 15 or 20 years
mm-hmm.
for helping people do things with their bodies, their joints, their aches and pains
mm-hmm.
that previously we hadn't been seeing.
Yeah.
You know,
that's why I really like the term aging evolution, right? Anti-aging to me makes people think, because it's a term that people can spin how they want to.
Exactly.
Makes me think people can go get a pill,
mm-hmm.
throw this in. It's anti-aging. That's either I'm going to stop where I'm at and I'll never get older, or I'm going to turn the clock back to when I was 20 when it was easy, but I didn't have to fight so hard,
mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The truth is, the older we get, it's not as easy as it was when we were younger to do the things we wanted to get done.
That's right.
Right. And
100%.
So I kind of want to dig into this a little bit with you of like, what's the truth and what's the myth behind anti-aging? Because there are some myths out there of people say, oh, go drink this. And, you know, it's a prune juice with a ginger root or whatever, and it's going to make you run fast or whatever. Like there's so much trash out there that just kind of clouds the situation. So what's the reality? And if we could just set a baseline for what anti-aging means, and if we just even need to sweep that word off and start using aging evolution as a word, because this is the new way to age, right? This is the new way for us to say, look, we're not going to be able to take the miles off the car at the end of the day. But what we are going to do is we're going to lengthen the road. And by lengthening the road, we'll be able to go faster by lengthening the road that you have to drive.
That's a very good analogy, Brandon. That's really good. I've never thought about it that way, but you're right. When you start mentioning all the trash ads and all the stuff out there that's, it has no testing behind it for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
It's unregulated.
Right.
Okay. So I tell people all the time, when you're going to take supplements for your liver,
mm-hmm.
or you're going to take supplements to increase your heart health,
right,
do as much investigation as you can, because you don't know what's in those pills. You don't know what's in those capsules. You don't know what they're doing. And I'll tell you the truth about the industry. About 80% of it's all coming out of the same factories,
mm-hmm.
like a GM car.
With a different label.
Yeah, just different labels.
Mm-hmm.
So then it becomes a case of who has the best marketing, who does this and that,
Right.
We have a testosterone booster that we sell,
mm-hmm.
okay? Nugenics has a multi-million dollar ad campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Thomas, Doug Flutie,
mm-hmm.
we'll give you these bottles. I mean,
mm-hmm.
I'm always amazed how they can afford all these commercials. They must be selling like, we'll give you a bottle and we'll get you on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, ours is essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
We have one different ingredient, which is better, but we don't have the budget to market it.
Mm-hmm.
Classic example of what I'm saying. just because it has the most visibility, the most marketing, whether it be a supplement, whether it be a peptide, whether it be a food product, whether it be one of the biggest things I see out there are all the different protein powders. Mm-hmm. Which one's better? Which one's this? Mm-hmm. All the pre-workouts that a lot of people are taking right now. Mm-hmm. A lot of that stuff in there is not very good for your body. Mm-hmm. Okay? Hypes your heart up. People love it because it gives you a little more energy, 10 times what coffee is. Kick. Mm-hmm. I can get in there and go. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But over the long term, it's not helping you.
It's too much rev on the engine.
Too much, man. One of my big policies with working out is stimulate, do not annihilate, especially when you're starting out. Because what happens with your body as you get older, it takes you long to recover.
Right.
You got to give, you're tearing, if you're in the gym lifting weights, you're tearing your body down.
Right.
And if you go back the next day and work the same muscles over and over again, they've had no chance to recover. Mm-hmm. I've learned this through experience myself. It's hard when you want to work out and I got to work out. I got to work out today. I got to work out. Mm-hmm. You're tearing down too much and you never, ever, ever recover. So I tell everybody that if they're just starting a routine, consistency is the key, 100% consistency. Get on a regular routine, but never, ever work the same muscle
groups
that you're working that day. And in my opinion, a lot of times if you're older, it needs a good 72 hours to recover before you hit them again. Mm-hmm. And you say, well, I've not lifted weights. I've done nothing. The key thing as you get older is to maintain your muscle mass. That's the key thing. That will keep you walking. That'll keep you upright. That'll keep you doing things that most people don't do when they get real old. You see them all slumped over. Keep your muscles intact for as long as you can. And the only way to do that is through some type of resistance training, whether it be calisthenics, sit-ups, push-ups, blah, 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 or weight training. Look at old marathoners that are doing nothing but running long races their whole lives. Mm-hmm. Most of them look 25 years. They're in great shape. Heart's in great shape. Can run forever. But boy, they may be healthy on the inside, but boy, they look like they've been run over by a truck. Mm-hmm. And because why? Because they're just running and that's what they do for fun and they're a living. Mm-hmm. But bottom line is, when you come to preventing that, slowing down the aging process, that will really hurt you more than it helps you. And you can just look at people and see that.
So you're saying muscle mass dying off is really the key to speeding up the aging process?
I think keeping muscle mass intact longer slows the aging process.
Yeah, just the opposite of what I just said, right?
Slows the aging process. And it will keep your body able to do things as you get older that most people can't do. Mm-hmm. I mentioned to y'all in my movie, Iris Davis, she just turned 81 here last January, going to be 82 soon. She's still doing 15 to 20 pull-ups. Mm-hmm. Unheard of. Now, she don't weigh about 110 pounds. She's a granny. Mm-hmm. But that's a miracle.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, she's been a trainer and so forth her whole life. Mm-hmm. She looks much younger than she is. Mm-hmm. On our Facebook page, I like to put out there from time to time a picture of her and a picture of another 81-year-old.
Yeah.
You make the choice.
Yeah.
Here's one 81-year-old right here. Here's another 81. Now, that woman might have had cancer, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm taking the average person.
Yeah.
Versus what can be reality.
Right.
If you do everything right. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I'm not saying take it to an extreme like that. Mm-hmm. But all I'm saying is it's possible. Mm-hmm. It can be done. Mm-hmm. Don't ever say it can't be done because it can be done.
Right.
I think anybody that wants to see what aging evolution really is should take a look at my website, agingevolution.com, or my Facebook. Mm-hmm. All these people are either members or people that have followed aging evolution that we picked out over the years, and just go through there and look at the post. Say, how do they do this? How do they do this? And there's a lot of information out there to help people. A lot more information out there to help people than is on TV trying to push you to buy their product that could be just absolute trash, because it's all about marketing and money, and that's what people see.
Right.
Brainwashed to the hilt.
Right. I wonder as we're going through this, we talk about people who are healthy and strong. Some of that is genetic disposition.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
Hot
I mean,
luck.
You know, you're going to have some people that just weren't built to be athletic, or
That's
they just,
right.
you know, but you know, you also see people that are pretty heavy set, and they're like, oh, I've tried and I've tried and I've tried. But personally, you know, you can see, and this is my opinion, the level of trying for certain people is just different than the others, right? There's people who will try until their hands bleed.
That's right.
And there's people who will try and do it once or twice, and they're like, it's too hard for me. I don't want to do it. I've done my deal.
Right.
You know, and you get out of it what you put into it, right?
100% agree. And we all talk about genetics. It's the number one most important thing regarding really longevity, health and fitness. I mean, I hate to say it, but if you're born with heart defects in your family, doesn't mean you can't beat it. You can. But the chances of you having those heart problems increase dramatically. If you have a family that is obese, how many times do you see that you see an obese family and you see their kids? Most of the time obese. What do you say? Do you say, well, they're just obviously not eating right? Well, we don't know that.
Yeah.
We don't know their lifestyle. So I'm not one to judge whatsoever on that. Only thing I tell people is, if you're consistent with your diet, you're consistent with your mindset, and you're consistently moving in some manner, in my opinion, lifting and mild cardio, you will see changes. You may not be Mr. America. You may not be Miss America, but you will see changes. It's impossible not to.
Yeah.
If you're doing that, and I'm not talking about being radical, you know, 5 meals a day, 30 grams of protein, everything like a lot of the bodybuilders, a lot of the super fitness people do. No, I'm not talking that. I'm talking about restricted calorie diet where you're not eating a bunch of refined sugar. You're not eating all types of red meat and fatty food. Okay. And you're keeping it basically, I say it's real simple. 20, 40, 40. 20 fats, 40 carbohydrates, 40 protein in that 100. If you keep that consistent over time and you keep your caloric intake down, you're exercising, you're going to lose weight. You're going to lose weight, and you're going to lose good weight, not bad weight. So many people go on restricted diets and they say, I'm going to cut down to 1,000 calories a day. And they lose 10 pounds real quick.
Yeah.
They've lost 80% water and 10% muscle and 10% fat.
Yeah.
It's not a good way to do it.
Right.
But it makes you, I'm looking at the scales. Well, you shouldn't be looking at the scales. You should be looking
at the scales when I go to school.
You should be looking at the scales once every week or two.
Yeah.
And you should be looking in the mirror, and you should be taking measurements or checking your pants. You know, that's going to be a much better indicator of the kind of consistency that you need to actually lose body fat. They say 2 to 3 pounds of body fat is about max you can lose in a 7-day period. I'm not sure of that, but that's what's always been the term said. Oh, you can't lose more than 2 or 3 pounds of fat in a week. That's a lot of fat coming off your body. So that may be true, but if you can lose consistently 2 pounds, that's 8 pounds of fat coming off your body in a month. That's a lot, man. Yeah. That's a lot. So,
yeah, especially when you start to see what fat looks like in volume.
Yeah, I've seen those pictures of all that.
It's pretty crazy. It looks like
man.
one pound of fat's like a gallon of milk or something like that. It's crazy.
Wild. It's wild. It's wild. In the movie Aging Evolution, we go through 3 different facets. The key one being mindset. Okay. we've got a facet at the end, a category at the end, secrets. But the key thing is with anything, like it is with anything, essentially, it's mindset. If you believe and put the effort in and you believe you can make happen, that's key. It's just key. What is a key thing that most people do when they start a diet? They want to seek immediate results, and they want to see, and they give up. That's why everybody sets their New Year's resolutions, and the gyms are completely full, and everybody's doing everything. By the end of February, they're half full again. Yeah. Okay. Consistency is the key, and I'm a firm believer that if you don't have to be radical in any measures, just eat well, eat 3 or 4 small meals a day. I tell people this too, and I'm a big believer in it. You can put fried chicken and pizza and fried eggs and potatoes all right there in front of you. 5 pounds of food, okay? And you eat that 2 times a day versus splitting that up into 5 times a day. You're eating the same food, right? You're just spreading it out. Yeah. And you're not going to gain as much weight. Yeah.
You're not shutting down the other organs.
Eating that 5 times a day, even though you're eating the same thing. Yeah. So
that's what they say, it's keeping the furnace going.
That's
the
right.
Entire time. Yeah.
That's right. And just imagine when you're eating really well on an eating plan like that. Your body will burn that body fat, and it'll use that good food to rebuild muscle, to rebuild tissue, tendons, everything like that needs to be rebuilt after you work out. So it's not rocket science at all. There's not really any secrets at all. Everybody's using this Ozempic right now and all these. I think we're going to find out as time goes on that they may be causing more damage. And this is just my opinion. Yeah. They may be causing more damage than they're helping. Yeah, they're helping people curb your appetite. There is no doubt about that. But I wonder what it's doing to your body, the aging process. I wonder what it's doing, slowing down your metabolism, because what you want to do is increase your metabolism. So it burns more of the body fat. And then you're what I call feeding your muscles. Feeding your muscles. You can work out all you want to. If you're not feeding your muscles any nutrition, it's not going to matter.
Right. Feeding them protein.
That's right. You got to give them protein. And you can do it. I don't like a restricted diet when you're actually trying to build muscle. I like to make sure you're getting at least 1 gram per body weight. If you're 200 pounds, that's a lot of protein. 200 grams. That's a lot to get that in. And you can't do it by eating 2 big meals. You've got to eat that protein 30 to 40 grams at a time. And then you're giving your body a chance to assimilate it and use it properly.
Because if you overstimulate your body at 1 meal with that much protein, it's just going to dump the rest.
It's going to dump the rest of it.
Yeah. It can't absorb that much.
It's not going to be put to proper use at all. It's just not going to do it. So if I just had a format that I was espousing and said, okay, here's what you need to do. A person comes to me and says, I want to lose 25 pounds in 2 months. Well, that's reasonable. They can do that. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to lose body fat? Or are you just trying to get in your clothes better? What are you trying to accomplish? He says, I want to get in better shape. I want to be stronger. I want to be much less body fat. Well, that's what I want to hear. Instead of somebody saying, I want to lose 25 pounds. I don't care how I lose it. I just want 25 pounds off my body. It's 2 different things entirely. Yeah. 2 different things that you're working towards.
Well, let me say this. If I'm sending someone to you, right? Why am I sending someone to you? What does the evolution of aging evolution, what does that do for someone? Why would I send somebody to you if you're telling me diet and working out is a major part of this, right? Are you giving people plans? Are you giving them structure? Are you giving them something like what's happening with
really, all we're doing right now is we're not out there selling plans. We're not out there doing, we're basically trying to get people inspired and started.
Okay.
That's our goal right now.
That's cool.
Now, we may want to at some point in time. We're talking about making a second movie, trying to get financing for it, and we're talking about some other products. And we've talked at length, my group and my co-owner, we've talked at length about having trainers, what I call masters, older trainers. We talked at length about it. But there's so much of that out there right now. I think our goal right now, at this point in time for the company, is essentially motivate, inspire, get people started.
Okay.
Just get them doing something. Because most of the people, really over 50 and 60 and 70, I would say at least 60 to 70% are on no program, are on no programs.
Yeah. By inspiring people, are you giving them a roadmap to get things done? Or are you just saying, hey, go get it?
No, we give them a roadmap in the movie, I think. Okay. We do a lot of, on all of our posts on social media, we do give them the opportunity to see what these people are doing, okay, without having conferences and charging people to go to these people and giving them advice like so many people do. But essentially, like I said, at this point in time with the company Aging Evolution, we do not have, and that's something we're talking a lot about, we do not have plans that we're espousing to get out to people and sell people to help them out.
Yeah.
We've talked about it at length, and that may be the next step that we take with the company. We're really trying to make that decision. I think I've got some of the most unbelievable examples and trainers and people with knowledge in the country with us, you know, that have been with us for 5 or 10 years, not on the paid employees, but have, you know, been part of us to where we could do that. And that may be one of the next steps that we take. We're kind of trying to do some focus groups with just some people to see that are, to get an idea of what the public wants that's really over 50, because that's our target audience. We say 40 and above, but we're really talking 50 and above. And because so much of a percentage of those people are really not on the plane. They're on the back nine. They're saying, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I say I'm 48. So I think about quite often, part of me staying in my regiment is I've got to get back in the gym. I've got to do this. Hey, this is me talking myself up. And I really like to talk down to myself to get myself motivated. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people that just don't know what to do. So part of it is education, but not knowing how to do it. Like, it's one thing to tell somebody, you could do this, you got this, and then you encourage them, and then what? You know, like there has to be that next step for somebody to say, all right, cool, I believe what you've told me. I'm excited about that. What's the meal plan? What's the supplement I need to do? How many peptides do I need to take? Like, how much protein for my body? Like, there's, and this lady right here, man, I've seen your website. It's got some people on it that look crazy. I mean, you're 69, right? 69 years old. I mean, you don't look it. You know, you physically, you
we
look.
need to tell some girls that.
Well, I'll let that be on your dime. But at the end of the day, like, you know, that's one of the things that people can see encouragement out of.
Right.
But they also need to know the next step.
I agree.
So going through that whole process of, yeah, cool, you got me. I'm charged up. Where are we going to go with this? What's next? Okay. So, because I've seen some of the people that on your website that you guys have shown off and told the story behind, and they look incredible for their age. And it's like,
and it intimidates some people.
Some people can feel like I'll never get there.
Yeah, well, that's right. And that's why we really try to show those people what can be, okay? What's possible, I guess is a word, okay? And we also show a bunch of transformations and just a bunch of people that are making small improvements over time. And you're exactly right. We've had long discussions about the way to monetize our company per se, other than just products, to use all the expertise and advice that so many of our people have. And we really haven't got to that point yet that we're really ready to introduce exactly what you're saying, although we recognize that it really is exactly like what you just mentioned. Yeah, we're excited. What the hell do we do now?
Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got me.
Yeah.
That's crazy
now
story.
Show me what to do.
That's the crazy story of the 80-year-old that can do 15 pull-ups.
Yeah.
How did she get there? How did she do that?
Yeah.
What was the plan? Show me how to do that. Give me I want to be that old lady. Walk me through it.
I think that will probably be in the next 6 months to a year what we strive to do, exactly what you're saying. There's a lot of work involved in getting that out and putting the program together and everything. Although we have it, we just really haven't figured out a way at this point in time to either get it on our website free. There's a lot of free advice out there everywhere. A lot of free advice. People will pay if they think they can be helped. That's an absolute.
Yeah.
So what we have to do is we have to determine from Aging Evolution, okay, what is this worth and how do we monitor your progress? Right now, a huge industry out there is the trainers, the personal trainers.
Sure.
It's huge at every gym, right? At every gym. Some of them qualified, some of them not. Some of them are great, some of them not. Okay. Some of them that'll work with you for an hour and it's more of a social scene.
Right.
Okay. I know the good, I know the bad, I've seen them all. Okay. And a lot of it, you'll say, well, why aren't you working that person harder? Well, we're doing what that person will do, can do, wants to do. Almost a social hour rather than the working hour. So we've got to decide from the Aging Evolution standpoint, as we move forward, what is our best avenue to help people slow the aging process down, to get healthier, to do exactly what you're mentioning. What's next? So I think you'll see that in the next 6 to 8 months from us. We're talking about it. We've got a lot of things in place. We just have not put it out there yet for public consumption. But I think you're exactly right. People will say, what you're saying, hey, I love what y'all are doing. I love what these people can be and are. How do I do it?
I'm impressed. Give me the roadmap.
Yep. I agree with that, Brandon, 100%.
How much does the one we haven't talked about at all? How much does sleep play in the role?
Oh, wow. It's vital because your body only grows and recovers mainly in sleep. It's vital. But I've seen so many people over the years that get by on 5 or 6 hours sleep and they're fine. And it's something I think that personally needs to be really evaluated and studied from the standpoint of how some people are able to do well, really well on 4 and 5 hours of sleep. And some people, man, if I'm not getting 8 good hours of sleep, I'm not worth a crap. And I'm not talking about the bodybuilding aspect. I'm talking about mentally. To me, I think it's just vital if you're trying to improve your body and have a better physique and get body fat off. I think it's just vital that you get 6 to 8 hours every night. Okay. But I see some people that make it on 4 to 6 hours and they're fine.
Yep.
So it's almost like you can train your body over time to just deal with less sleep.
Yep. I went 10 years with getting 4 hours of sleep a
Really?
night. Yeah.
And you were fine?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm talking like up until this last year, I think I'm getting like 6 or 7 a night now. But I mean, I'm telling you, I went literally 10 years of getting 4 hours of sleep a night.
I know people just like you.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty fascinated by it because if I don't get 6 to 7, I don't feel that mentally I'm in.
Right.
I just feel my body won't recover.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And if you ever get in the gym, you need that sleep so your body can recover, can rebuild.
Right.
You know, I found out that I was sore a lot longer than I needed to be because I wasn't putting in enough rebuild hours, of sleep because I was doing other things and taxing myself through, extracurricular activities, and it's just like you need that sleep to rebuild.
Inflammation in your joints, whatever's causing it, really makes you decrease improvement in whatever you're trying to focus on. Okay, if you're never letting that inflammation go away, it can be soreness, that can be whatever. I've seen when I was growing up, you work through that soreness, baby.
Oh yeah.
It was 2 a day.
Yeah.
We don't care how sore you are. You work through it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay when you're 18 years old, 20 years old. But as you get older, you almost have to put as much effort in recovery from a workout as you do the workout itself. Yeah. It almost has to be planned to that certain extent to do that.
Yeah.
So, but as far as sleep's concerned, going back to the original question, as far as sleep's concerned, I think it's really an individual thing. In my view, it's very, very important when you're on a plan to get in better shape. It's very important. But as far as mentally, I've seen people that can just be 100 miles an hour and be sharp as a tack, getting 4 hours every night, and they can accomplish so much, it just slays me. I'm always, President Trump's one of them. I mean, my God, what's this man doing? He don't sleep at all.
Yeah.
And he says, I've slept 4 or 5 hours my whole life. Now, he's not in great shape, but doing what he's doing is just crazy to me for 78 years old to be out there doing what this guy's doing.
Yeah. When you talk about the pieces of physical ability, there's 2 parts to this, because you just talked about that right there. One is there's the engine on the other side, which we talked about. The other is the aesthetics on the outside. There's 2 different people that are going to come to you and say, I want to look younger. Well, physically looking younger and in shape is one way.
2 different things entirely. You call it to a T.
The outside and making my face look, my skin and all this other stuff, that's got to be a completely different approach, doesn't it? Or
it does.
Or do some of those things feed into the other one?
I think you can, let's take skin, for instance, the way people age and get older, okay? A lot of that's the environment that you've been raised in, the sun, genetics. It's a combination of things. You can slow it down and do better with all the different things that are
creams
out there.
And whatever.
Yeah, there's a million different wrinkle creams. Of course, there's all the cosmetic stuff you can do right now, whether it be plastic surgery or whatever. They're just, I mean, just look at the people today that are movie stars that look, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise. They're in their early 60s. And you say, well, what the heck are they doing, right? Well, they've got all avenues. Every avenue that they have helping them is helping them look younger and stay fitter for what they do. So it's 24/7 with those people.
Right.
But it does show you what can be done. Right. So I think what you're saying is a combination. And you can be as healthy and as great looking as you want on the outside and look 20 years younger than you are, but your organs be crap from taking roids and taking too much of this, too much of that. It's a fine line. That's why I'm a big believer in blood work. Okay. I take testosterone, have for years. Okay. I'm a big believer in testosterone. But again, you have to watch it from the standpoint of, it's obviously sometimes testosterone can cause cancer, can cause prostate problems. You got to monitor all of it. Okay. Back when I was growing up, if you took testosterone, you were taking steroids, right? That's what it was. It's just a different. Now it's on every corner. It's mainstream. They're selling testosterone, hormone replacement. I think it's right as your body gets 55, 60, 65. It's right to explore it. That doesn't mean it's right to take it, but it's right to explore it. Okay. I think it can really make your body maintain muscle better, have more energy, feel better about yourself, But that's not to say I'm advising everybody that's wanting to lift weights over 60 to start taking testosterone, because I'm not. I think it needs to be look at blood work and look at how you feel. But there's no doubt in my mind that that's one aspect to keeping your skin, everything working and looking better, But genetics is key to a certain extent. But what you see people doing today with all the technology, with all the creams, with all the wrinkle creams, with all the neck creams, with all the stuff, there's a lot of it works.
Mm-hmm. Do you think things like testosterone and some of the other things that are coming out now are kind of biohacking the body?
Well, there's big biohacking. I was actually supposed to be in the conference in Austin this week, in the biohacking conference with David Asprey. He's big in that biohacking world. I think that term is maybe misconstrued a little bit from the standpoint of, we go back to, what is it? It's anti-aging, essentially.
Right.
Biohacking, stopping with all these different kinds of methods. There's all kinds of things out there right now. The red light therapy for your face and everything. I'm not saying it's not real, because I've had red light therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it. I'm just saying there's so much out there to determine what's really good and what's really bad. It's really rough to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's really rough. That biohacking conference is going on in Austin today, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The last 3 days. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to an A4 conference in Vegas last year that's owned by my friend, Dr. Goldman, who actually started back in the mid-'90s.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that actually started the term personal trainer, and he's built that company, that A4 company, up to almost $1 billion company.
Mm-hmm.
And they do 2 or 3. And I went to that last year, and I was just shocked at all the booths and the convention center and everything, with everything that was out there, and how many older people were there looking for the fountain of youth, baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's what everybody's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw every kind of older person you could see. It's like Dr. Goldman says, when we talked about that 100-year-old bodybuilder, everybody says anti-aging. Well, if you're talking to a 99-year-old, he's not thinking he's going to be dead in 30 minutes. He's looking forward. If you're 99,
yeah, right,
you want to live for the most part.
Odds are, though.
Yeah, odds are you're not.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, we just saw this 100-year-old bodybuilder. I think in 10 years from now, we're going to see people in their hundreds doing all kinds of things that are previously dancing, moving, doing things that previously unheard of, because of what you're seeing right now with not only technology, but just mindset and people just taking care of themselves better. And who knows? I'm not a big believer right now. I'm really watching this Make America Healthy Again movement that Kennedy's got going. I'm really watching that, because I think he's getting to the bottom of it, that so much of this pharmaceutical industry potentially is hurting us. And we need to have those studies out there to look at that, because that can increase the aging process and make your body work harder and faster. We need studies on all that. And right now, Big Pharma, all they want to do is sell you the blood pressure medicine, sell you the cholesterol medicine, sell you, and there's all kinds of studies coming out right now that they may hurt you more than they help you.
Sure. Have you seen the place? I can't remember the name exactly. I think it's called the Blue Triangle.
I have not seen that.
The Blue Triangle is like a place in Italy, Greece. And it's like where the most people over 100 years old are.
Oh, wow.
And they study the entire world, find out exactly where people who live to be over 100 more than anywhere else. And it's in this one location. It's a triangle. And they talked about what caused them to all live longer like this. And so as they were, going through and quizzing them and testing them, they went through their lifestyle, what they did every day, what things they ate, what was their job they did for a living, how many kids they had, all the stuff that went into it. And they found out that the foods that they ate were, pastas and things like that, and then they all had a really good work-life balance. And then they all drank wine,
Really?
Yeah, and they all drank wine. And they had this one guy, he was like 105 or something like this. And so they interview him and they're asking him, said, what do you do every single day? And he says, well, I walk up and down this cobblestone street every single day. That's my one journey every day. I never let it go. I never stop it because I want to make sure that I stay healthy. And they say, what does it look like? And he goes, well, here it is, and I'll show you. And it's like this hill. I mean, it's like a crazy steep hill, and it's all cobblestone. And I'm thinking, this guy is over 100 years old.
Wow.
And he goes up and down that thing every day. He said, I walk all the way to the bottom, and then I walk all the way back up to the top every day. And and the lady goes, or the guy asked him, says, why that location? What do you go down there? Where's the turnaround point or whatever? And he goes, oh, I stop at the bar at the bottom. And he goes, I see my buddies in there. I have one glass of wine and I say hi. And then I make sure I come all the way back up.
That's very interesting. That needs to be studied for sure. That needs to be studied. I mean, we see all the stuff with a lot of the Chinese people that look so much younger. And you see some of these, they're smaller race to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay. Which I think helps some. But bottom line is you see all the things out there that some of those older 80 and 90 and 100-year-olds are doing, and it makes you think, oh my God, this is really possible. One of my favorite statements in our film was by one of the guys in our film that does such a great job. He goes, I'm not trying to live forever. I'm trying to die young as late as possible.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. That's what I was talking about.
Right.
You can't turn the miles back.
No.
But you can die young as late as possible.
Right. Because nobody wants to, I'm dealing with some stuff right now with my sister who's 82, and she's having a difficult time. And she's had health problems for years, and looks great. But, just the organs and everything else that she's had to deal with over the years, it's just tough. And I think to myself, well, here's a woman that looks great for 80, looks like she's 65, but the rest of her's not cooperating.
Right.
And I don't think there's a lot anybody can do about that. She's done everything pretty much right her whole life, but it's sad. It's unfortunate. Some people just go sooner than others because of disease or organs or whatever, know. Wild deal. So I'll go back to what I said at the beginning, though, regarding anti-aging. And I would love for anti-aging to be discarded and aging evolution replace it, because I do think it's a much better term about what we're all trying to accomplish. We're trying to evolve our aging process to be healthier and better as we all live longer. Okay?
Yeah. Nobody
wants to live longer if you're having to be cared for and can't go to the bathroom, can't think, can't eat,
Right.
I think all of us would want to check out for the most part. Take me, Lord, take me, right?
Yeah.
But if you're healthy and you're enjoying life, and I don't think very many people want to go. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and I think that's really good, and I'll kind of wrap this up by saying, I was talking to my team earlier, and I said, I want to live as long as I'm not a burden on everyone else.
Exactly.
Right? Once physically I become where I can't take care of myself and I become an invalid, or let's say I get to the point where I just haven't done enough to keep myself to that point, and all of a sudden I'm out of my own control.
Yep.
Then I become a burden on my family around me.
Right.
And I said, I would rather die with people crying one day and it surprised them, as opposed to people crying for 2 years in this transition for me to death.
I think that's a great analogy. I think that's what most people would do. And unfortunately, so many people now are having to deal with parents or grandparents that have Alzheimer's, that, are living into their later years. And it is a burden for everyone. Of course, that person didn't choose that.
Yeah.
That person didn't choose it. Who's to say in 10 years I could be that? You could be that. We don't have that choice.
Right.
Okay, sadly. All we can do is what we can do to try to stay exactly like you mentioned, and that's great. Want somebody crying for one day, not 2 years, dealing with all the problems that you could be
potentially
putting on
solve.
them. Yeah. That's a great analogy, Brandon.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today. It's been some really good answers to some questions that I've always had.
Well, appreciate it. I appreciate you very much having me.
Yeah. And I look forward to seeing what you guys got coming out in the future. And I don't know if there's anything you want to,
Well, the only thing I want to tell people that are watching this, that I would love for them to go out there and watch the movie Aging Evolution. They can check out our website, agingevolution.com, check out our Facebook and Instagram, and become a part of our community. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to pay anything, just follow us. There's ways you can send us photos, and keep in mind exactly what you said. In the next 6 or 8 months, we're going to come out with programs to do exactly what you said, to help people, guide them to getting started. Yeah. And then hopefully guide them through a journey to help them live longer and be healthier.
Don't give them the first step.
That's right, baby.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate you coming on. And everybody, until next time, that's the blueprint.